So today I'm going to talk to you about and recommend uh, one of my favorite books. All of these I keep calling one of my favorite books. That's why I'm recommending them. And it's by the historical fiction author Avi, or Avi, depending on how you pronounce it. That's AVI. It's just one name. And just so you know, Avi, for the most part, he writes lots. I think I mentioned him before in one of the other reviews. He writes a lot of good historical fiction for kids. Some of it's fine, some of it's meh. There's some that I've read that I actually forgot. This one has stuck with me, and it's called Beyond the Western Sea, and there's actually two books. So you want to start with the first one. It's definitely one of those books where if you pick up the second one, you will have no clue what's going on because it's as if he took one book and just cut it in half and said, here's one book and here's the other. Instead of putting out a 400-page children's book, he put out two 200-page children's books. So you can't pick up the second one and just start right in. You will not know what's going on. You need to know the first half. And because the plot is rather intricate, it's as if he channeled Charles Dickens and then kind of simplified it down to modern kids literature and took all of your Charles Dickens tropes of nasty, mean, evil men, characters that come and go, and random occurrences that somehow work into the plot, and people who leave and then somehow by coincidence come together, and it's a great story. It truly, for lack of a better term, is Dickensian, but without some of the highfalutin language of Charles Dickens, that highfalutin language that I love, but most of you fifth graders are not ready for. The basic story is about Irish Catholic immigration, and it's about these three children. It's been years since I read it, but I believe it's two children, a boy and a girl, and they're forced out of their home because of the Irish potato famine, and the landlord removes them because they can't pay their debt. Their father has gone to the United States to work in a factory, and he just sent them a notice saying, I've got a job, I've got a home, you can come on over here, and he's paid for the tickets and everything, and paid for their whole passage. And so they just have to leave and just get out and get on the ship. They take to get to Liverpool and then come to the United States. And it's just perfectly timed because they've just been pushed out of their homes anyways. And it's a exciting book. It's very tense. And then what happens is their mom, because if I remember right, because she just can't bear to leave the grave of her own child, her baby child who died. I think it was a baby. And so she ends up not going with them. And so this young girl and boy, Patrick and Maura, they have to decide, do we go with our dad go to America and find our dad, or do we stay here in Ireland and not see our dad, stay with our mom? And they decide the best thing to do is mom wants to stay, dad's invited us, he's asked us to come, there's hope there, there's no hope here. And so they end up going on their own, and it follows them from Ireland to Liverpool. And then most of the book is them trying to get on the boat, but they meet with some amazingly diverse characters, and many of whom are rather tricky and out to take advantage of all these new Irish immigrants. And there's a lot of realism and a lot of great history that's very true to the historical perspective that these kids have, and that they've been, particularly for them, their Catholic faith is the one thing that's kind of kept them, that they have as their identity, their Irish Catholic faith. And so they've also, for them, the only Protestants they've met are bad guys. And so that affects their perception whenever they meet a Protestant. But even there's this great scene where there's this minister who's trying to help them out, and he's just doing it because of God's call to love other people. And he's a Protestant, but as soon as they hear that he's a Protestant, they're terrified because they think he's gonna, that he's got all these nefarious plans. And and I'm trying to, there's a whole lot of plot I'm not getting into because I don't want to give any of it away. That's just one of the plots. I'll tell you, there's another one where there's where a member of parliament, his son, steals money. He's this young boy who decides he's going to run away from his rich home and go to America because his brother is going to inherit everything. I don't remember exactly how it goes. So he steals, I think, about $1,000, £1,000, and his path crosses with these two kids, and they themselves, and they're constantly trying to avoid the authorities, but and it's all exciting. And then they meet this other guy who wants to be a great Shakespearean actor, and so he makes his money by going out on the street and orating and doing Shakespearean monologues, and he falls in love with Mora and is smitten by her, but of course she doesn't really want any of that. All she can think about is getting she and her brother across the ocean. So the plot just goes all over the place. It's a very exciting book. I highly recommend it. And then if you want to read the sequel, well, I would recommend that one too. I don't want to talk at all about the plot of the sequel, because if I do, it will ruin the ending of the first one. Because the big question of the first book is, will they be able to make it onto that boat and get to America to meet their dad? So go check it out. The Beyond the Western Sea, and it's the first one is, I believe, called Far From Home. The second one's called Lord Kirkle's Money. So don't read Lord Kirkle's Money first. Read Beyond the Western Sea, book one. Enjoy it. And I haven't met a kid yet who doesn't like this book. Enjoy.